The courtroom was tense, eyes locked on every movement, until Camron couldn't hold it in. His booming laughter echoed through the chambers, cutting through the silence like a knife. But it wasn't the outburst that shook the room. It was who Jim Jones' son stood beside. Chrissy. Calm, composed, and unbothered. As Jim's blood boiled, his own flesh and blood stood with the woman at the center of the scandal. Cameras clicked. Gasps spread. And just like that, the battle lines were redrawn. Was this betrayal from within? Or a silent protest against everything the world thought it knew? What started as a legal standoff transformed into a family implosion, televised in real time. With reputations at stake and loyalties shattered, this was no longer about right or wrong, it was about survival. And, for Cam, Chrissy, and Jim? The real trial was just beginning. No one expected the courtroom to turn into a spectacle, but when Camron stepped into the witness stand, the tension in the room was already thick enough to slice. The room held its breath, lawyers stared down their notes, the judge leaned forward, and the jury squirmed in their seats. On one side sat Jim Jones, jaw clenched, eyes burning with fury. On the other, Chrissy sat poised, her expression unreadable. The surprise? Jim's son, Joseph, had chosen to sit beside Chrissy. Whispers darted across the gallery. Phones were off, cameras were banned, but every detail was being mentally recorded for the blogs. Camron was sworn in, adjusted his coat, and leaned into the mic. The lawyer asked his first question, innocuous enough, but loaded with implication. Can you describe your relationship with the defendant, Mr. Jones, and Ms. Lampkin? Cam raised his eyebrows and smiled faintly. Long, complicated. Full of memories. The tension mounted, then came a question about the leaked messages, the infamous voicemails. The lawyer implied that Cam had acted with malicious intent. Cam paused, leaned in, and said, I don't leak. I reveal. A few gasps rippled through the courtroom. Jim shook his head, and then, it happened. The next question was about a specific moment between Chrissy and Cam, something personal, something allegedly captured on tape. The courtroom was dead silent. Camron let out a laugh. A real one. Loud, unfiltered, echoing, y'all really bringing that up? Man, this whole thing is comedy. It wasn't a smirk. It wasn't a chuckle. It was a full-on eruption. Even. The stenographer flinched, the judge banged the gavel. Order in the court. Jim stood halfway up, furious. The bailiff put a hand on his shoulder, but the true shock came when Joseph stood, and instead of calming his father, walked over to Chrissy and put a reassuring hand on her shoulder. Every jaw dropped. Why would Jim's son, his own flesh and blood, choose to publicly support Chrissy? Was this a calculated move? Or an emotional stand? Outside the courtroom, the scene exploded. Reporters swarmed. Social media lit up. Cam's laugh became a meme within minutes. Someone edited it over a scene from a courtroom drama. It went viral, but the deeper implications were no laughing matter. Behind the scenes, sources close to the family said Joseph had been growing distant from his father for years. Rumors swirled about heated arguments, unresolved conflicts, and divided loyalties. And Chrissy? She had always treated Joseph with kindness, even when the cameras were off. He saw her not just as his father's partner, but as a woman who had held the family together more times than anyone realized. Meanwhile, Cam used the moment to his advantage. He tweeted, laughed, "'cause the truth is funnier than fiction. Wait till y'all hear the rest." Fans speculated he was preparing to drop more evidence, voicemails, texts, maybe even video, but Jim wasn't staying quiet either. He posted a black and white photo of him and Joseph when he was a child, captioned, "Blood is thicker until betrayal dilutes it." People took sides, some blamed Cam for stirring the pot. Others said Jim had lost control of his narrative. And a growing group started calling out the justice system itself, how personal drama had turned legal proceedings into a reality show. The judge recessed court for the day. Cam was escorted out, still grinning. Chrissy and Joseph left quickly, avoiding press. Jim stayed behind, sitting in the empty courtroom, alone. His lawyers tried to talk strategy, but Jim stared straight ahead. He wasn't just losing a case. He was losing control of his family, of public opinion, of his legacy, and the ones holding the cards. Cam, Chrissy, and his own son. The courtroom was empty now, but the battle was far from over. The next phase would move beyond the courthouse, into interviews, diss tracks, leaked documents, and carefully crafted PR campaigns. But one thing was certain, Cam's laugh wasn't just a reaction. It was a declaration. The war had gone public, and Harlem was watching. The day after Cameron's explosive courtroom moment, the media frenzy hadn't slowed, it had multiplied. Talk shows, podcasts, gossip blogs, and Twitter spaces were ablaze. But one name was now trending above Camron, Chrissy, and even Jim Jones, Joseph, Jim's son. That simple, silent move, walking over to Chrissy during court, had said more than 1,000 interviews could And now, everyone wanted to know why, back at home, away from the cameras, Joseph was reportedly torn. Sources close to the family revealed that he had tried to remain neutral for months. But watching his father spiral publicly, taking shots at Cam and Chrissy, while hiding his own demons, had pushed Joseph to his limit. He felt like Chrissy had been more of a parent to him in the last 5 years than Jim had, said a longtime family friend. When Jim was distracted by fame, by conflict, by ego, Chrissy held things down. Behind the scenes, Joseph had quietly kept in touch with Chrissy. She had helped him get into school, supported him through a breakup, and even covered some of his early business expenses. It wasn't just loyalty, it was love. Jim, on the other hand, had grown increasingly distant. As his legal troubles grew, so did his paranoia. He saw betrayal in every corner. And when Joseph started questioning him about the leaks, about his behavior, Jim lashed out. "You sound just like her," Jim reportedly shouted during one argument. "Whose side are you even on?" Joseph didn't answer at the time. But his actions in court made it clear. Meanwhile, Chrissy was hesitant to speak publicly. A short statement from her publicist simply said, "Chrissy is grateful for the support and remains focused on truth, healing, and privacy." But the silence didn't protect her from public speculation. Theories flooded in. Was Joseph manipulated by Chrissy? Was this revenge against Jim? Did Joseph know something deeper, something the public didn't? Camron, of course, didn't waste the moment. On Instagram Live, he said, "When the youth sees through the BS before the OG stew, that's a wrap." He didn't name names. But everyone knew who he meant. Jim responded with fire.in an emotional Instagram video. He looked directly into the camera and said, "You think you can turn my own son against me? You think I'm just gonna sit back and let y'all destroy everything I built? Nah. I'm coming. And this time, I ain't playing nice." That clip went viral too, but some fans were starting to see the cracks in Jim's tough exterior. He looked tired, angry, and desperate. Meanwhile, Joseph stayed quiet. No tweets. No stories. Nothing, until one post. A single photo of him and Chrissy, laughing at a barbecue from years ago, with the caption, "Not everything is for clout. Some things are just real." The internet divided. Some fans cheered him on, praising him for standing up for what he believed in, even if it meant standing against his own father. Others accused Chrissy of being manipulative. And many just couldn't believe how deep the drama had gone. Entertainment news ran wild. Headlines screamed, "Chrissy the real matriarch?" Jim Jones losing grip on his own family. Joseph breaks silence without saying a word. Behind closed doors, Jim's legal team grew concerned. Public opinion was shifting, and fast. Even the judge, reportedly, had warned all parties about keeping their personal drama off social media, but the damage was done. Record labels, endorsement partners, and even industry insiders started distancing themselves from Jim. He wasn't just losing followers, he was losing power. And Cam? He stayed quiet, for now, but sources say he was preparing something big. A final move. One that could end the feud, or ignite it into a full-blown firestorm. At the heart of it all, though, was Joseph. A young man caught between loyalty and truth, between the man who gave him life, and the woman who gave him love. Camron had always been more than just a rapper. He was a strategist. While Jim Jones vented online and tried to salvage his image, Cam went silent. Not a tweet, not a post, not even a shade-filled lyric. Just silence, and that silence spoke volumes. Industry insiders whispered that Cam was about to drop something huge, not a track, but a documentary. Word spread fast. Was it going to be a tell-all? A series of recordings? A full-on exposé of everything that had gone down behind the scenes between him, Chrissy, and Jim? Then, without warning, a trailer hit YouTube. Black and white clips of studio sessions, courtroom footage, grainy cell phone videos, and, at the end, a shot of Cam looking directly into the camera, saying, "They lied to y'all. Now here's the truth." The video amassed 500,000 views in 6 hours. Jim's camp scrambled. He went live on Instagram to try and control the narrative. "I ain't scared of no footage," he said. "You wanna play dirty? I got my own truths." But the audience had already shifted. Cam's calm composure had become more powerful than Jim's emotional rants. It wasn't just about who shouted the loudest anymore, it was about who moved the smartest. Chrissy, still keeping quiet publicly, was now seen more often with Joseph. They attended a charity event together, posted a joint photo smiling, arms around each other, with the caption, "Blood doesn't always make you family. Love does." That post shattered social media. Even celebrities chimed in. Some praised Chrissy's strength. Others criticized Joseph for turning on his father. But the narrative had shifted again, and this time, it was in Cam and Chrissy's favor. Then, Cam dropped the bomb. The full documentary, titled The Unfiltered Truth, premiered on a streaming platform. In it, Cam broke down the entire timeline. He showed texts, voicemails, and private footage of emotional conversations. One clip, in particular, made headlines, a hidden camera capture of Chrissy crying, saying, "I never wanted to choose sides. But Jim made it impossible to stand by him." That footage was raw, painful, human, and people believed it. Jim's lawyers issued a cease and desist. They claimed Cam had used unauthorized recordings, twisted timelines, and violated privacy. But it was too late. The story was out. And public opinion had never been more against Jim. He released a track titled Family First, attempting to reclaim his image. In it, he rapped about betrayal, loyalty, and how real ones don't switch. But even fans said it felt forced. One comment summed it up: Cam showed receipts. Jim dropped a diss track. There's levels. Meanwhile, Chrissy and Joseph continued to show unity. They began working on a youth mentorship program, hosted interviews focused on growth and healing, and stayed away from further drama. That's when Jim finally broke. He canceled tour dates, deleted most of his Instagram posts, released a video saying he needed time away to rebuild and reflect. The public response was mixed. Some felt sympathy. Others said it was damage control, but one thing was certain: the power dynamics had shifted. Cam had won the public. Chrissy had claimed peace. Joseph had chosen his truth, and Jim, he was left to reflect, not just on what he lost, but why he lost it. In the end, this wasn't just a celebrity feud. It was a story about ego, loyalty, pain, and evolution. A story where the quietest voices turned out to be the loudest. And a reminder that in today's world, receipts speak louder than rage. This saga isn't just another celebrity headline, it's a window into the raw, unfiltered complexities of family, fame, and truth. If you've been captivated by every twist and turn, now's the time to stay locked in. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next chapter in this ongoing drama. Whether Camron makes another bold move, Chrissy finally breaks her silence, or Jim Jones rebuilds from the ashes, you'll hear it here first. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Whose side are you really on, and what moment shocked you the most? Share this video with someone who needs to catch up, and if you're feeling the story, give us a like to keep this heat coming. This isn't just entertainment, it's real life, playing out in real time. Stay tuned, stay woke, and above all, stay ready, because the next reveal might just change everything.